Last night in Chicago, Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris made her pitch to the American people just a month after her elevation to the top of the ticket, following President Joe Biden's withdrawal from the race. How will voters respond to Harris's quickly assembled campaign and messaging? And what will be the key issue in this final 75-day sprint until Election Day? Joining me now to tell us about it and more is Congressman Randy Weber. He serves on the House Committee on Energy and Commerce, the Committee on Science, Space, and Technology. He's also a co-chair of the House Bipartisan Task Force for Combating Anti-Semitism. He represents the 14th Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Weber, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you, Joseph. Good to be here.
Good to have you. What was your reaction to the speech last night and the events of this week in Chicago?
Well, I watched all of her speech last night. I didn't get a chance to watch all the events, but I know I've seen them before. We've seen this movie before, as the old saying goes. Let me say this, Joseph. She said the word Trump more than she said crime, inflation, border security. You can go right down the list. She was so focused on trying to lie about Trump, it was incredible.
Now, do you think, typically coming out of these conventions, there is a post-convention bounce that candidates experience because it's a kind of a week-long infomercial for whoever the party's nominee is? This is a little bit different because it seems like there's been about a month-long infomercial being run for her ever since she kind of ascended to the top of the ticket for the Democratic Party. Do you think that will mute the post-convention bounce that would otherwise be expected?
Well, she'll probably get a little bit of a bounce, but if you follow through on what she said last night, if you paid attention, you started to think about it. She told the following lies about Trump. She said he was going to cut Social Security. He was going to kill Medicaid. He would jail journalists. I recorded the video, Joseph. I've got to record. I went back to make sure I was right about that. She said he would use the military against American citizens. She said that he would enact a nationwide ban against abortion with or without Congress. And she's just trying to create fear and angst in her base so that they'll come out and support her. But I think the American people are more focused, as we know, the things she didn't really talk about, and that's inflation, securing our border. Although she talked about securing the border, but I'm thinking, you've been there almost 4 years, lady. Why haven't you secured the border, especially since you were the border czar? So I think when Americans stop to think about what she's trying to how she's trying to pull the wool over their eyes, they'll see right through her.
And actually, I want to give people a chance to see a little bit of that conversation since you mentioned it. Here is a clip from her speech last night talking about the border.
And let me be clear. After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border.
Now, there she is saying she understands the importance of that, especially at the border. They seem to be trying to flip the script a bit, saying that she is the tough on border and tough on crime candidate. And in fact, Donald Trump is the obstacle to that. Can she sell that to the public?
Well, she sure tried, but I don't think so. The American public is smarter than she's given them credit for. And look, they had 3.5 years to secure that border. You remember this, Joseph. The Democrats were more interested in getting 87,000 IRS agents to ride herd on Americans, using old Texas saying, than she was in securing the border. She could have put those things that Donald Trump had in order, back in order, remain in Mexico, stop, catch, and release. And those kinds of things that Trump had secured our border with. She's had 3.5 years. I think Americans are going to see. You know, she's trying to do, Joseph, in my opinion, she's trying to paint herself as a moderate. She's trying to paint herself as a moderate. The truth is, she's against bail for criminals having to pay bail. She's against fracking. She supported the IRS agents, 87,000. In 2019, she was voted the most liberal senator in the Senate. So she's trying to, if you will, tack to the right. And I think Americans are going to see through that.
Well, she is definitely trying to present herself as a moderate, but she's also trying to present herself, it seems, as the challenger, which is unique. Oftentimes in a convention like this, you would tout the record of the previous 4 years when you're on the ticket, talk about how well things have been going, and say, don't we want to build on this? But that is not the case that she's making. Joe Biden, I don't know for sure that he wasn't mentioned, but is almost never mentioned anymore. He has been moved past very, very quickly. And she speaks as if she is the change candidate, despite being in office for 4 years. Why do you think that is? And will the American public buy that?
Well, they're not as gullible as she thinks they are. She did mention him at the first of the speech, thanked them, him and his wife, Jill. Her and her husband did. But she's trying to, of course, distance herself from him. That was into that. And then she went into all this tirade. She even said she was going to fix the housing industry. And I don't know if you remember, in 2008, we had a housing crash. You know, the government eased restrictions. People could get loans easily without as much down payment, without a good necessarily credit score. She's going to fix everything, according to her. Now, we all know that Biden didn't fix anything. He only exacerbated the problems. She even said she's a strong supporter of Israel. And I'm like, really? We watched this. We've seen this show. Y'all delayed arms to Israel multiple times. So I don't think you can sell that to what you perceive to be your Jewish friends, Kamala.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting, I think, to a lot of people that she is not running on a record of the past, and she's trying to convince people, because it seems like there's a couple options here, because all the things she says she can do, she can lower prices, she can lower inflation, all of those things. It seems to me in the back of the minds of every American is like, if you can do that, go for it. Like right now, we're excited about that. Why is she withholding that power if she has it?
Well, the truth is she can't, and she knows she can't. You know, there's 3 ways fairy tales start. You know, once upon a time, or honey, if you'll marry me, or if I'm elected. And she's using that third fairy tale to say that she can do all these things. Just let her be president of the United States. And of course, we know that that's an abject lie. That's not her philosophy. She's one of the most liberal people you're ever going to find. Joseph, she even said that when she was a prosecutor, she fought the drug cartel. She doesn't know what it is to fight the drug cartel on the border. She doesn't know what it is to have to struggle for housing and to get a loan and those kinds of things. But she sure makes out like she does, like she's absolutely, the person to save this country. And the truth of the matter is, their philosophy has got us in a. Oh, she said Donald Trump would increase the deficit. Since when did liberal senators get interested in worrying about the deficit? I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. With that background, what would you expect her policy priorities to be if she were elected?
Well, she talked about, voter reform. Basically, they're going to try to make sure, and a pathway to citizenship. And there's already a pathway to citizenship. We know that. Do it legally. Secure the border and do it legally. Yeah. And she knows that. But that's not what they want, Joseph. They want illegals in here to increase the base. They want more population in New York, more population in California, so they can get more electoral college votes, if you will. She knows exactly what she's doing, and I think people will see through that. She can't improve the immigration system by letting what she's going to bring back the bill, she said, that came out of the Senate that was voted down in the House. And why was it? I voted against it. It was actually DOA. Why was it? Because it let 4,000 illegals in a day. Now do that math. 30 days, that's 120,000 a month. What kind of advantage is that? So she's trying to play both sides of the aisle, if you will. I think people are going to see through her.
Congressman, I actually spent the week in Chicago talking to delegates to the convention. And one of the things that was most surprising to me is how disinterested they were in the immigration issue. On the left, it is just not something they think about. It's not something they talk about. And I was told on several occasions, the only reason people are concerned about that issue is because they are racist. And that's where it's gone a lot on the left. But we are in the middle of the August recess. You're back in your district. What are you hearing from voters right now?
Well, exactly what I've been espousing. And let me come back on something you said. Remember the name Riley Gaines?
Sure.
Remember the names of the young girls that have been raped and killed and some of them tortured and just unbelievable. You're absolutely right. For whatever reason, the Democrats are staying away from the fact that we have, and I'll call them terrorists, coming across our southern border, and they're killing American people. In Texas, down on the Texas border, when I was in the Texas legislature, I was the vice chairman of the Borders Committee. It was bad then, worse now. In Texas, they're breaking into homes, they're stealing cars, they're running down fences on farms and ranches so that cattle are getting out. They're wreaking havoc. And one of our Border Patrol retirees told us, about 3 months ago at a Border Security Caucus, that about 53,000 special interest aliens had been noted at the border. Those are the ones they know about, Joseph. Those aren't the ones that got away. If 10% of them got away, it's 5,300. If 1% of them got in, it's 530. And yet in 2001, with the trade centers going down, it only took 19 terrorists to bring down our trade centers. It's only a matter of time. And the Democrats say that that's going to happen. We're going to be hit with terrorism. And the Democrats seem like they don't care. They're oblivious to it. You know, Kamala and Joe, they've got it all under control. That's kind of their attitude. And it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, that is the attitude. What's your encouragement in about 10 seconds for what voters need to be doing right now?
Well, get out and vote. Let's not wait to vote. Republicans, a lot of them. I was election clerk, election judge, precinct chair for 16 years in Missouri County. A lot of them want to wait till the actual election day, but don't do that. Get out and early vote. Get your friends out to vote. There's a lot at stake. There's a great phrase out of the Bible, Joseph, that I take great solace in, and it's this: to whom much is given, much is required. And so
Congressman Randy Weber,
I tell
thank
my
you so
friends,
much.
get out.
Got to be with you. Good to be with you.